So I decided to take this sort of foray into yarn dyeing. And I've been wanting to do it for a long time, just because it looked really interesting, and there are a lot of ways that you can dye yarn. The opportunity presented itself, and I decided to go ahead and try it. So I ordered some yarn from KnitPicks, specifically KnitPicks Wool of the Andes Superwash. It's not super duper soft, but it's pretty soft, and it's superwash, which means that you can technically put it in a washing machine on cold. So I wanted to get that because I figured it would be more usable for more people. So here I have my dye bath, and I'm starting out by putting in some of the food dye, because that's what I used to dye this yarn. I used regular store-bought gel food dye. This one I think is a mix of dollar store and like Kroger brand. So I did some purple, and I added some pink in there because I was kind of worried that the purple would be a little bit too blue, that it wouldn't have as much warmth to it. But what ended up happening, as you'll see later, is it kind of added some variation in the yarn, which is really pretty. Here I'm just mixing it up with my whisk. Now I eyeballed everything. I'm sure there's a better way of doing it, but I'm just winging it here. Now here I'm getting all of the yarn. I did 2 skeins, but I'm getting it all ready by taking the labels off. Now, what I really should have done that I did not do, and here's the mistake that I made. This yarn is tied in 2 places when you buy it. What I should have done from the get-go was add at least 2 more ties, mainly because the space in between the ties that are already on there ended up getting pretty tangled. So that was my first mistake. Now, I added some vinegar in there. I don't know if you saw that or not, but I added some vinegar in there, and here I am putting the yarn into the dye bath. I kind of tried to twist it a little bit. I don't know why. Maybe because I had seen that in some videos. I don't really know. But that's kind of what I did, just to, I'm sort of trying to fit as much in there as possible. And then I used my whisk to push that into the hot dye bath. And this is on heat. It's not just chilling there. It is heated. But the reason, as far as I understand, the reason you add vinegar in there is that it helps, that acid helps to adhere the dye to the yarn. And here I'm just checking to see if the water is running clear, which it is. Now, I decided that I wanted to add a little bit more color. I did not have any more purple, so I just grabbed some blue and some pink, mixed it up into some relatively hot water, and poured it directly in. And this is where a lot of the variation really comes in, because I added that sort of mostly blue with a little bit of pink into the already existing dye bath. Now here I am rinsing the yarn off with just a little bit of clear dish soap in some water. And I'm trying not to go nuts with it. You don't want to scrub it. That will, even though it's superwash, even with superwash, I try not to go nuts with it. Plus, this water was pretty hot because the yarn was already pretty hot, and I didn't want to shock it. So, like I said, even though it's superwash yarn, it's not supposed to felt very easily. I always kind of are on the side of caution with that. And with this, you're just trying to get any excess dye out, but the water ran clear pretty quick, so. Now, what I didn't show on here is myself kind of not wringing excess water out, but more just squeezing a little bit very gently, getting as much of the excess water out in the sink before I even took anything in here with the towel. And here, I'm just hanging everything up in our basement. We had some hooks that my husband had 3D printed, so you can see all my soap making supplies behind it. And here's the issue I came into. So this yarn was a pain in the butt to wind. It was so bad. It kept getting tangled. And like I said, this is not the yarn's fault. This is a me situation. Because I didn't add those extra ties, and because I kind of moved the yarn around a little bit more than I probably should have, it got so tangled. So tangled. In the first skein that I wound, I ended up I did have to cut it and knot it. Like cut it, untangle the rest of it, and knot it to what was already on my winder. Or what was already on my Swift. Now, I know that I've heard of a thing called a nitty knotty, which is supposed to be specifically for putting your yarn into hanks. But what it does is basically this. I think it even like twists it a little bit, which not terribly, but I think just the way that you have to use it sort of twists it slightly, but I could be wrong. But anyway, I figured, I'm like, it's basically making a large loop, so why do I need to buy or make one of those? I don't. So instead, I just got out my Amish Yarn Swift, and there we go. I don't remember where I got this. I'm pretty sure, actually I'm about 99% sure that it was a Christmas gift. So the yarn turned out pretty good. It looks really pretty, actually. I have it right here. Here is what the yarn looks like now. And I went ahead and put the original label back on it, and I just wrote that I hand dyed it. Now, I might change that, but that would require a little bit more designing and being all fancy and finding a working printer, and so I was just like, let's do this, at least for the time being. Maybe in a future year, if I keep doing this every year, maybe I can do it a little bit different and be extra fancy and make my own label. Anyway, it looks really pretty. You can kind of see this was the first one, it was a little wonky, but you can kind of see on it that sort of variation, which is really pretty. It looks more pink in person, like not pink, but it has more pink undertones in person. The camera's making it look a lot more bluish purple. It's more a pinkish purple with a couple bluish spots, but it turned out pretty good. But yeah, like, I plan on doing that again, or I may just get more KnitPicks yarn because of the fact that they have bare yarn available. I like that. But I really want to try like a pretty green or a yellow. Definitely something that I need to do in the future is add those extra ties. But overall, I would say it was a success.